Cassie. Wait.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people. Hello. I love how you automatically turned your head like we kind of do whenever I do the hello. You just like your body language responded to.
Yes.
Yeah, you're like, I'm well trained. Yeah.
I was going to say, how many years of friendship?
Yeah.
Too many. I've been well trained.
Yeah, I'd prefer that we didn't tell people.
Oh, okay.
They don't need to know.
I just met her.
Yeah. Spring chicken, this one.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Back. What are we doing here? If you're new to our creepy corner of the world, this is PNW, Haunts and Homicides, where we chat about true crime, the paranormal, and all things spooky, creepy, weird, or maybe vaguely interesting to us in the Pacific Northwest. The PNW, if you're nasty. She's like appalled. She's clutching her pearls. So we also do a tarot reading at the end of every episode so that we get a little bit of deeper insight into our topic for the day.
At the end?
Yeah. So stick around if you're into that. I mean, you have to stick around either way.
Mom? I gotta go, girl.
Yeah, I just remembered I have a thing.
I have a thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, well that's our intro. So should I save
No,
this
do it now.
gifty
No.
Okay.
Do it now because it's going to be perfect. It's for the theme.
Oh my. Okay.
You're going to love it if you don't.
So Andrea asked me, because by the way, this is Andrea.
Oh, yes.
I don't even know if we said that.
No, we never did.
No.
I just go with it. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, Cassie. Hey,
Cassie.
girl. How you doing?
I just thought that would be funny. And then I got tripped up by my own little switcheroo there. So
apparently I did too. I rolled with it.
yeah, you're like, I'm Cassie now. So I what was I going to say? Oh. Andrea, you asked me, okay, so I've never guested on a podcast before. Am I supposed to bring a gift? And I was like, it's not an expectation at all. But to any future guests, I'm just saying this is how to get.
I've set a standard, and now the bar is pretty high. So you guys better deliver at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we've had some of our Patreon come on and guest with us and do like a episode where we were talking about their stories, and we did end up receiving a gift. I don't know what this is yet, but we were gifted a couple of bottles of wine. And of course, as you all know, that is always a good gift.
Yes.
Around here.
Yes. We know the true weaknesses around here.
Oh, okay.
It comes out like that, yeah. Do you want me to just put it on the floor?
Oh, I'm just going to put it back there. This is going to be our altar.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Right in time for the holidays. This is how I feel whenever I hear stories about people at like the Black Friday sales, which as we're recording this, it is Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Well, that escalated quickly. I thought there were going to be a little bit more blood on it, but you can murder someone with a cup, right?
I just feel like that's probably an appropriate amount. Just make sure you get like the full experience here.
I feel like a little bit more blood, and then you would know that the person was murdered, but hey, whatever.
Hey, listen, we love a mystery.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. This is perfect.
This is so cute.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
why I was like, girl, I have to get something for the podcast, and this is about murder. So it's perfect. Well, that escalated quickly.
A murder most foul. So this is also a story that you kind of picked out.
Actually, a client told me about it.
Yeah, but you're the one that, suggested this one because I said, hey, on the off chance, if we were to do a really themey episode, because anybody who knows us knows we love a theme. We're themey bitches around here. Love, anything that's like festive or special edition or, like the holiday. We got to have it. It's a real PSL vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're doing one related to your current profession.
Yeah.
In the beauty world.
Yes, sorry.
Wow, okay. She really did not take that seriously at all. She was like, ew.
Mm. Well,
Yeah.
it's what's weird to me is that stuff like this is
Mhm.
actually not out of the ordinary. Like, if you know anything about the hair industry, I know this sounds so weird, but there's a lot of drugs. There's a lot of fishy shit that goes on. So, is it
Oh.
really out of the norm? No.
Okay. Well, so that's a good lead in. So
Yeah.
you guys, if you were expecting puppies and kittens for some reason, it's not that day. Still not. Will not be that. So, any hoozle. Today we delve into a shocking case out of Gladstone, Oregon. A story that seems almost unbelievable, unless you're Unandrea. Unandrea. I was trying to mix a couple of words there.
You know what? It's okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, I answered anything, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, but I don't think we need to adopt that Andrea.
Because you're uninterested in what I have to say.
Oh my God. No, unless you're Andrea and you really, this is just another Tuesday for you, apparently.
Yes.
Oh boy.
It is.
This is the story of Debbie Higbee Benton, a 54-year-old salon owner who was beloved both before and after her brutal murder in May 2011. As investigators dug deeper into her death, the surrounding community would be left shocked as a wide web of secrets and a sinister plot involving her estranged spouse, former police sergeant Lynn Edward Benton, and 2 accomplices was laid bare.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing about Gladstone is it's small enough that this would shake things up. Like for us, like this happened in 2011. People are still talking about it. That's why when someone's like, "Did you hear about it?" I'm like, "Oh, bitch, I'm not from Gladstone. What you mean?"
Yeah.
But it's a big deal. It's a big deal. They still talk about it. It's a big deal. Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. No, I believe it. And I think obviously we'll get into it here. But there's a lot about this case that sort of makes it a little bit more sensational. Debbie Higbee Benton and Lynn Benton met in 2008 and went on to tie the knot in October 2010. So not married for a long time. Here for a good time, not a long time. And actually not a good time. So.
Oh, I relate to that so well. That is so weird. Been there, done that.
Yeah. Another major life-changing event, Lynn had reportedly begun transitioning from female to male.
So it was female to male?
It was, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. When the couple married in 2010, Lynn had also dropped the E from their birth name, Lynn. So Lynn spelled Lynn versus
more female.
The birth name was Lynne.
Okay.
So you drop the E. That's a little bit just strictly like stereotypically speaking. It's a little bit more of a masculine. I don't know why that is, but it's sort of the etymology of the name. They also changed their middle name from Irene to Edward, checking the box for male on the marriage license application. So I had wondered how the couple was able to get married because this is 2 biological females at this point. Lynn just checked the box for male. It's that simple.
Okay.
So, and we don't do any sort of a verification, which I thought, okay, I guess that makes sense. Like, what kind of resources could we possibly have to be able to, that would just be so.
We don't look up their skirt to see.
I mean,
it doesn't work like that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I think maybe starting in January after the, Regardless, the marriage was far from idyllic. Their relationship quickly began to utterly deteriorate. According to witness statements and court records, ultimately devolving into what sounded like a potentially very abusive relationship dynamic and living situation.
And it doesn't indicate where the abuse is coming from.
It does, yeah. So we'll get to that.
Oh,
yeah.
My bad.
Debbie initially supported Lynn's decision to transition, but later expressed concerns or doubts of some kind, though it's not exactly clear what specifically they were.
Okay.
Like what their issue was around the transition. Though reportedly, whatever the issue was proved significant enough that Debbie asked that they bring the transition to a stop. Which
can you do that though?
Rough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can you do that? Doesn't that wouldn't that mess with you if you just like you were because they're on hormones, correct?
You know, at this point, I would assume I don't have a lot of specifics in terms of and there's a good reason for why there's certain information that's not necessarily explicit. And we'll get to that too. But a lot of that would be considered just as like a standard that would be protected with HIPAA.
Oh, okay,
you know, things like that. I mean, that's protected medical information. So it's not necessarily completely clear that they were doing hormone therapy or, you know, what those specific treatments or interventions were. But I would imagine so. By April 2011, tensions had escalated significantly. This was just weeks prior to Debbie's murder. And ultimately, the couple separated. Debbie moved out, taking with her photographs of bruises she claimed Lynn had inflicted. So Lynn being the one who is transitioning. And I would not be surprised if part of the issue there was that obviously this is someone who does not want to discontinue the transition and being pressured by a partner to, you know, at least pause that process. I could see that there maybe would be some resentment there. That's not in any way to excuse any of what is about to happen.
No, but it makes sense. I mean,
yeah, you could see where obviously that would be something that would cause a rift, that would cause tension. Their split was acrimonious. Vocab word of the week. With arguments about finances and Lynn's alleged temper dominating their interactions.
Were there police reports about any of this?
You know, I didn't really find anything prior to their separation. There's not a lot that indicates there was law enforcement involved in domestic disputes up to this point. That being said, obviously, Lynn works in law enforcement.
Right.
So that makes it really tricky for a victim of DV to be able to get any sort of help or assistance from exactly the people that should be protecting them.
Right. Well, my only thing is like, if she's taking pictures with her, obviously it's evidence, but
yeah,
you would think that instead of just having photos that they would try to do their due diligence to get some sort of protection against them. Because especially since they're in the police force.
Yes. Yeah. It can make it really challenging though, because especially someone who is really well established in their career at this point. And like we've already said, it's a relatively small jurisdiction when compared to someplace, you know, like a more major city like Portland, right? There's a lot of people that even if they're not directly in law enforcement, you have relationships with people that are, you know, court reporters or, you know, clerks, different things that it's like that might not be, you might not be going directly to the cops, but if you're going to seek like an order of protection, that might be something that they learn about because they have relationships with people outside of, strictly speaking, their direct coworkers.
So I actually have I have clients that are in the police force. And one thing I found out was Oregon City specifically. Now I can't speak for Gladstone because I didn't service
neighboring
anybody.
City though.
Neighboring city.
Yeah.
But in Oregon City specifically, the police department pay the news to not report on anything that involves police specifically. So in Gladstone, since this does involve a police officer, it may never have even come to surface because of the fact that They might have done that as well. I can't verify that. I can only speak for Oregon City. I know police have paid to keep anything that involves the police force on the hush-hush, on the DL.
And whether they're paying for it or they're using, political muscle, whatever that might be. I mean, clearly that's not something that we're unaware of as a possibility.
Right.
Yeah. Now that we've got some of our background context out of the way, let's go forward, but actually still back in time. You get it.
No.
You're like, yeah, no.
No, but this is what this helps with that. So,
yeah. You're like, just go with the flow.
As long as my cuppeth overfloweth, I'm good with whatever's coming my way.
On that fateful day, May 28th, 2011, Debbie Higbee Benton's last client left her salon, the Gladstone Beauty Salon, somewhere between 3:30 and 4 p.m. She had a previously scheduled dinner event later that evening at 6, but she never showed up. That's when two of Debbie's friends became concerned. They were worried enough that they actually contacted a business nearby to see if someone might be able to check on Debbie and assuage their fears.
Did they say which one it was?
It may have in the source material. I think I didn't include that because it was like, well, it's a neighboring business.
Right.
What difference does it make if it was a gas station, a liquor store? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There are some details specifically about who they speak with and their response that I very pointedly did include, and I think are very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It's very interesting. I would imagine it's totally possible she could have gotten tied up with a client. I mean, maybe you have a color service or something that runs long.
Right.
Like every time you see me.
It never goes as planned.
No.
Ever. Because you'll be like, I just need a touch up. I'm like, no, bitch, you need an entire makeover. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Let's start over.
She's like, I'm going to try to fix this. People know that you come to me and I don't know what you're doing with this in your free time, but this is not my handiwork.
No, it's just that you don't take advantage of the fact that I do hair. So I'm the one that has to come to you and be like, look, boo-boo, we need to fix that.
You look sad.
Your hair
looks
neglected. You look like your hairdresser has neglected you.
Whoever that bitch is.
God, I got to talk to her. Gosh.
So part of it is I'm so busy too.
That is true. That is true. But you've never taken advantage. That's the one thing about Caitlin. She never takes advantage. I've always, even when I was first doing hair, I always came to her and was like, let me do your hair, right?
Yeah.
Never took advantage. Even when I took you to the beauty supply store, you'd always be like, well, are you sure it's okay that I'm here? And I'm like, yes.
You're like, well, if it wasn't, they would have kicked you out.
Yeah, exactly. If you're with me, we're good. No, you've never taken advantage of it. So
yeah, well, I know it takes a lot of time. We're both busy, and I don't know. I guess
it works out. You know what? It works out. You become a new woman every single time.
Yeah,
you have to have valid ID to prove to Chris that it's really you after I'm done.
A little bit. Yeah.
Because I made you super blonde the last time and you've never been that blonde before. You've always just wanted to stick to the level 8. And I was like, no, we're doing platinum. We're doing it because I said so.
And I was like, yes, ma'am.
I was like, I own you.
Yeah. And she did. She straddled me. Well,
that was supposed to be kept a secret. Don't tell everybody. Shh. I only do that for specific clients. Okay, not everyone gets the straddle. Okay, I just want to put that out. Not everybody gets the straddle.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? They're going to go back and listen to those old episodes that we did where we have the Mirror Magic ads in there. And they're going to be like, oh, good, I found the number.
Well, the number doesn't actually work anymore.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, there's that. You guys, sorry about that.
Sorry about that.
Just my cell phone.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Now we can tag you in the show notes, though. Ew, we're so fancy.
I am.
But for the record, though, if this was us, I'd go fully into panic mode. Because I know that if you have a service or, people kind of show up late, things like that, like the schedule is kind of fluid. And like,
but
I came from dental.
Would do that. She has to make me text message her as soon as I get home. So
it's true. I do that to everyone.
You would panic. Caitlin would be the person that you want to be friends with because she would make sure you're still alive and breathing. You're on top of that.
Yeah. I this is so funny because I did this to my mom. She was going to go to a friend's after she left our house on Thanksgiving. And I was like, okay, I need you to text me when you get there. And she did. And I thought that I had already like done at least a tap react or something, like responded. And I forgot for like an hour. And then I texted her back. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I saw this. I want you to know that I saw it. I just forgot to respond because I was like, I don't want people to think that I don't check and then not text me.
I did my due diligence. I don't care if you check or not. I let you know. So if you don't check it, that's on you. I know, care.
But I just think about it like, well, why the hell am I like?
Because you're a compassionate person,
I know. No, I'm just saying, I just don't want people to think, well, why the hell am I going to the trouble of texting you if you're not even keeping track?
No. Caitlin's just a very caring person, and that's how she is. That's why we're friends. Because she always makes sure I'm alive and breathing. Yeah. She's practically the only one. So.
Oh, man. Yeah, Mother Teresa over here.
Just minus the sex trafficking.
Oof. Oh, yeah. You know, it takes a while to adjust to. There's so many public figures that you're just like, oh, actually, that's not a good thing anymore. Yikes.
That's All crazy. Right.
Speaking of not good things.
On to the next one. On to the next one.
Yeah. I guess this is as good a time as any to mention that Debbie's aforementioned estranged spouse worked for the Gladstone Police Department. Okay, just in case that wasn't like abundantly clear, I feel like I did mention that in.
You did, and I think that's like obviously if you're with a police officer, we've seen movies like they don't stray from the truth. Like she was pretty isolated. Let's be honest, because there's no way that you can just go shouting from the rooftops that your spouse is abusing you when they're a police officer. Now, have they served the whole time, or did they just recently become a police officer?
No, they had already been a police officer for quite some time, and I do have a little bit more information about their tenure. So
okay. I'll stop talking.
Yeah, no, you're good. Okay, but it's if you have somebody that works in law enforcement and that's your spouse. In my notes, it says, so I guess in that case, I just have to call the SWAT team to be safe.
Yes.
Because it's like, who do you call when, the cops are the one that are putting you in danger? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
Ghostbusters.
Well, I whispered it.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it's appropriate.
Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
We don't really worry about the appropriateness too much.
But it's absolutely true. It's like, who do you call when your spouse is in the middle of like the dilemma? Because you don't call the police and be like, hey.
Right. Well, and this is not the first case that we've talked about where the victim, was in a relationship with somebody who worked in law enforcement where, spoiler alert, this exact same thing happened. So, fortunately, they did not have any children because we talked about Crystal Brame from up in the Bremerton area, who her ex-husband basically attacked her in a strip mall parking lot and killed her and himself in front of their children.
What?
Yeah.
When?
I can't remember the year exactly, but this was,
gosh.
Yeah. So,
did he leave a note or anything on why he did that? What was the purpose of that?
I don't think he really needed to leave a note. They were going through a very acrimonious divorce themselves. There was a lot of information coming to light publicly about his wrongdoing in other areas.
So he decided to top it off, like add the cherry on top and just.
Yeah. Okay. Just orphan their children.
That doesn't make.
Yeah. So, that's kind of the situation that, we're working with here, where it's like, okay, yeah, sure. Have problems with your current or ex-partner, but
no, it's a good thing there weren't any
with
children involved. Cause especially in front of your children, they're forever scarred. Let's be honest. They're reliving that nightmare. So luckily for this situation, they didn't have kids, but holy jeez, I never understood that.
It's pretty crazy. Oh, and anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, an employee at the business they contacted, because now we're circling back. Okay. The friends were alarmed. They, made a call to a neighboring business. An employee at the business they contacted, who happened to be an off-duty firefighter, took their concerns pretty seriously and followed the call up by going to the Gladstone Police Department and even making contact with Lynn. Now, I can understand why, firefighters and police, I feel like I'm sure it's different everywhere, but I feel like in all of the movies and stuff, they're like, they butt heads and they're like kind of at odds with each other. Seems like this guy was like, nope, that's the move.
Yep. He's like,
yeah.
He's like, I hate the police, so I'm right there with you. I'm going to go check.
Yeah. No, he even made contact with Lynn. So he goes to the police department and specifically speaks to Lynn. So I don't take issue with the escalation or the sense of urgency at all. Obviously, freak out more, people.
Right, right.
But what I do take issue with, and admittedly, I don't know that person's specific circumstance, but does anyone else think it's a problem that a firefighter apparently needs to moonlight? Just to go totally off topic, I just feel like
usually the firemen always show up to any sort of emergency situation
I'm saying,
first.
why does a firefighter have a part-time job? Why does a firefighter need a second job? Their first job is already so physically demanding.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that I service. They are volunteers, and that's why it's part-time.
Yeah, this wasn't a volunteer one. I don't think.
Oh, what? Well, that's messed up.
I'm just saying, like, can we
how the heck does that work? Because they make you work for like 48, 72 hours or whatever straight.
Yeah, no, they have kind of crazy schedules. I mean, I don't know, good on them for caring and following through, to check on Debbie. However, I just feel like
he worked part-time at the hair salon too. Like,
not at the salon. He was at the neighboring business that they called. Yeah.
Okay.
I just feel like that's a pretty intense job. So like maybe when they're not fighting fires, we should be paying them enough that they can afford to.
No, absolutely. Because
yeah.
How would that even work?
I don't know. I just feel like, probably this person should be able to work just that one super high stress, very high pressure job. Have some downtime occasionally and still continue to live indoors.
Yeah. And it's an extremely, it's not only physically, but it's a mentally demanding job because they usually are the first to show up on a scene. It doesn't matter if it's a hostage situation. It doesn't matter if it's somebody who's calling because, I need help with my
heart
homework.
attack.
Or heart attack. Or, I've heard those before.
Yeah.
But it's like, they're the first on the scene and they are the ones that usually have to divulge and like jump into whatever's happening first. So I can't imagine trying to, when you get off, when you get off work.
Compartmentalizing
yes. And then going to a second job.
Yep.
I can't imagine
Pretty wild. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, probably just because my awareness is very heightened about our current capitalistic hellscape.
There's that.
I just really glommed onto that because I was like, why is this firefighter working like some, part-time retail job? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he's just a guy who's like, is working super hard because he wants to pay like down student debt or wants to buy a house or whatever. Maybe I don't know his situation. I just was like, and now I'm angry about that. It was before, I was like, we still have a ways to go. I gotta like,
I am so sorry.
Up.
It's my fault.
No, you're totally fine. It was just before 9 p.m. when Lynn and the off-duty firefighter visited the Gladstone beauty salon to check on Debbie. Seriously, though, this firefighter is a real one. Apparently, they do not punch out from being a public servant, literally ever, because he's working a second job and then wraps that up and is like, oh, here, let me just go be a good Samaritan in my free time, all 15 minutes of it before my next shift.
Right.
Like, what? So Lynn had a key to their wife's salon.
Still?
Apparently. I know. I thought that was interesting as well. When they entered, the pair quickly found poor Debbie dead in the back storage room. According to court documents, as soon as Benton went back to the office and turned on the light, Sergeant Benton let out a blood-curdling scream.
From a grown man?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Yeah. From there, law enforcement and Lynn's attorney differ on what happened inside the salon. Lynn's defense claims that as a trained paramedic, they were able to determine that Debbie was gone. Basically, she was beyond saving. She was stiff and had no pulse. It's law enforcement's assertion that Lynn made no attempt to revive Debbie. Which, as the spouse, even with that sort of training, to me, that seems sus as all hell.
No, it totally is sus because usually, even if they know, they still try to resuscitate.
They still try.
Yeah, they still try. And then they'll be like, okay, dead on arrival sort of thing. Yes. DOA. Yeah. But that is, yep, they look dead. Well, let's clear out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I wasn't there. I didn't witness the condition of the body. I could see where, if there's obvious like brain matter, on the floor, a situation like that. But I will say, there are cases where even in those situations, brain matter exposed.
Yes, they
still
survive. Try. Yeah, but they still try.
I don't know. I mean, obviously they were not on the best terms, but you would think, hey, especially as the spouse, maybe I'm really motivated to save this person, even though I may not be super in love with them anymore. Because guess what? You are going to be the first suspect.
Absolutely.
Even if you were in what outwardly appears to be a happy marriage. So just something to think about. I mean, training is one thing, but other than making a little bit of noise, you are not going to exhibit any concern for this person, your partner. I don't know. I wasn't there, so I really can't say, but the latter isn't, it's not a good look.
No,
it's not a good look.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Especially if the sergeant, or whoever it was, had found, because Lynn was there too.
Yes. Yeah. And Lynn is the one that made the discovery.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, he's there. It's two people, essentially. It's a firefighter who also happens to be Debbie's partner, estranged partner at this point, and then a firefighter. So yeah, I could see where, maybe you don't go into complete hysterics. Maybe the scream as he's discovering the body is sort of just a reaction. Mm-hmm. Just a reactionary thing. And I'm going to say they, because I don't know at the point of the discovery of Debbie's body, I don't know specifically that I could pinpoint what the pronouns were at that point. There's a lot of that where it's a little bit tough to precisely determine, a timeline for that. So, and, just out of respect in that regard. But Lynn reportedly immediately called for police assistance because you know what a cop needs when there's a dead body is more cops.
Absolutely.
Because I think arguably, you need more people there. But I just am like, I don't know if typically when the cops are calling for assistance, they are calling directly to a dispatcher. And so they're going to basically relay the situation. I don't know that in this case, if you really want to get down to splitting hairs, down to brass tacks, I don't know that they specifically said I need backup, or that they said we've got a body, that sort of thing. So I think sometimes that's more down to the dispatcher is interpreting what the situation requires. But I hate you, Lynn. So
isn't this all usually aren't there police reports? And wouldn't it be in a police report saying generally what it?
Yeah. you do have sort of a general sense of, but I don't know that you can adequately get direct quotes about okay, this is specifically what I told the dispatcher. You can oftentimes, if they are released for public record, the 911 call itself.
Right. And that's why I was like, usually when things go to trial, things are public. And that's the reason why I was like, this wasn't even. But I mean, I feel like
it is and it isn't. If that makes sense. And we will have a little bit more information.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Stop. Stop.
As you might imagine, under the circumstances, help was quickly on the way. Another police sergeant arrived in just 2 minutes, which is a hell of a response time. It's not bad. At that point, the defense states...
It's also, 2011? No.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah.
Police response was different. And then after COVID, it changed.
Oh, yeah. During and after COVID, there's been some differences.
So are we really shocked that before COVID that they responded? No.
Yeah. At that point, the defense states that Sergeant Lynn was visibly upset and crying and sobbing. And honestly, who wouldn't be after discovering their spouse, estranged or not, in this manner? But it just feels a little bit like it was a bit of a light switch situation. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Like you're putting on the airs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Authorities said it wasn't until her autopsy that it was determined she had been shot in the back and had also been strangled, ruling her death as a homicide because ain't nobody shooting and strangling themselves.
Well, not to my knowledge as of today.
Yeah. She's rolling through her Rolodex.
Yeah, I'm like, how many times have I heard of a murder where they strangled themselves and then...
Yeah, I don't think so.
So far, none.
Yeah.
So far, none.
So, I mean, at this point, basically everyone is just asking, how could someone be driven to commit such a brutal crime against her? Seems like she, again, really...
Well, especially for Gladstone, because it's a super small town. So totally understandable.
Yeah.
I mean...
Although I would say, like, you're just outside of Portland. This is also 2011. Like, maybe let's can the it feels a little insincere. Just to be like so shocked, like, oh, this doesn't happen here. It's like, well, crime happens everywhere.
Oh, not
you know
in Gladstone. It's a bubble. It's perfect, okay? The Who's from Whoville live in Gladstone during the rest of the season. Like,
oh my God.
Come on. It's like, I mean, it is. It's a very like homey feeling town.
Yeah.
Or
I mean, to some degrees, I feel like there's a lot of areas of Gladstone there. Like,
but you're absolutely correct because crime happens all the time. I know that's really shocking, but I'm not just talking about in general. I mean, like in Gladstone. Like 3 days ago, a dude just murdered his mom. So it's not. I get it. Yes. Yeah. It's not.
It just feels a little disingenuous.
What, they all had surprised Pikachu face that somebody would die? Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. It's like, oh, people get murdered? You're like, yes.
I've never heard of murder. Yeah. Okay.
It's a new concept for me.
It is a new concept. That's why I'm have surprised Pikachu face. Yeah. Not in Gladstone.
Yeah. I feel like Gladstone, of all places, claiming to be, in shock and awe it's a little rich for me, but that's fine.
Well, it's because you're not from Gladstone. You're not a Gladstonian, okay?
Oh my God.
A true Gladstonian would be surprised.
Shocked.
It would be shocking.
Initially, the deputy medical examiner had determined Debbie's death was caused by a heart attack. Of course, that was prior to any autopsy being performed at the Oregon State Medical Examiner's office in Clackamas the following day. Debbie's cause of death was determined not only to be homicide, but furthermore, the result of, and this is a quote from the reporting, a gunshot wound of the back, neck compression strangulation, and blunt force chest and abdominal trauma. Yeah. That's a lot of violence inflicted on the body. I will say that. True crime aficionados will not be surprised at all to learn that a certain sergeant in the Gladstone Police Department was of interest to the authorities as they continued to investigate. What's that thing? We hear and we say it all the time. Oh, right. The husband did it.
I'm like on the edge of my seat. Like,
what do we say?
Yes. It's usually the spouse, generally speaking.
Yes. Honestly, these days, it feels like for an average woman, the only thing on par in terms of just risk of bodily harm with like walking down a dark alley is, the dangerous endeavor of becoming pregnant or pissing off a romantic partner.
Well, and
same.
The other thing too to keep in mind is anytime there's some sort of strangulation, it's
very personal.
Yes, it's personal.
Yeah.
And that's how you know it has to be someone they know.
Because you don't just they had time to think about it.
Exactly. And and so that's why I'm like, because being that close to somebody and like there is rage behind there. And it's personal. That's why it's like they got strangled and shot.
And I do think that I don't know how much you recall from when you, have read about this case in the past, but I think you will be a little bit surprised about the specifics because we are going to get into a little bit about the conspiracy and who all was involved in what. So I'm not going to get into the weeds on the statistics here, but I'm pretty sure I don't have to. For every single one of us that's in a happy, healthy relationship, we can point to at least one Lacey Peterson. Which, I mean, God, I feel bad saying that because it's not anything that she had ever done wrong. Unfortunately, the only mistake that she made was picking a man that valued his freedom more than, her life. And was a piece of shit and a lying sack of shit.
Well, as long as people live on this earth, we're going to have murderers. So are we really shocked?
Just selfish, evil people.
I know. And I think the part that gets me is you married this person. You got on bended knee and asked to marry them and then, or asked to marry them, but asked them to marry you. Yeah. And then you decided, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Kapow. And that's just that's what's mind blowing is you almost have to be like psychopathic or a sociopath or, something to be able to kill the person that you married.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. And I don't know. I feel like probably the thing that people will maybe focus in on is that, I'm saying like it's so dangerous for a woman basically to become pregnant or have a romantic partner. Like it in one sense that sort of feels like a hot take, but I mean not really when you consider like, how many pregnant women are murdered, how many women are murdered by their partners. So I don't know whether I'm right or wrong. Feel free to light up the comments, guys. We could use the engagement. And it's your attention that we crave in this capitalistic hellscape. Some interesting information came to light about Lynn Benton as they began to investigate. Because remember, now Lynn is all of a sudden a very interesting person to the police. They were actually fired by the police department after 24 years of service as a police officer, which feels another hot take here. Honestly, it feels damn near impossible to accomplish. Like, it really feels difficult for a cop to get fired.
Oh, no, absolutely.
To be honest.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Usually they get a slap on the wrist and that I'm just going to keep it at that.
And I wouldn't slap too hard. You don't want to hurt his wrist.
Right. And that's why I'm saying it's usually like, don't do that again. No. Like, no, we don't do that.
Yeah.
No, I totally get it.
Yeah. So this is kind of a really interesting, I don't know that it is all that relevant specifically to the murder, but obviously we're going to talk about it because it's very interesting background for Lynn. 2 reasons were cited for Lynn's termination by the chief of police when an official statement was issued. Number 1, the individual had married a Brazilian man in 1993 so that their companion or acquaintance could obtain U.S. citizenship.
Oh. Don't they usually investigate that to make sure that it's like legit?
They sure do. Yeah. Yeah. That's why you get in a lot of trouble when you do that. Number 2, the city-issued laptop this employee possessed contained evidence that they had both viewed and possessed pornographic material, which it's not illegal to possess porn, but and I'd like to think that most of our listeners know that we try to view things through a critical and as even-handed a lens as possible, okay? Porn's not illegal, but like...
Was it at work?
That's just dumb. It's a work computer.
Oh.
That's just dumb.
Okay, yes. Okay,
Yeah. That's just dumb.
But it's like those people want to get caught. Like they want to. Because I'm sorry. It's like, you know better. There's going to be some sort of monitoring.
I mean, this is like sometime between 1993 and 2010. So maybe they didn't realize. I don't know. I don't work for the government or in nearly as important a role as Lynn did, but you know what I don't do? Check out porn on my work laptop. Not once. Never done it.
Well, you need to do it. You just need to do it one time.
Just the one time.
And then you'll know. You'll understand. You'll understand.
And frankly, I'd like to collect my medal now if we're just giving them away. You know, for not watching the porn.
While at work. Let's add that. While at work.
Yeah, I think they were probably off the clock, but you're using a like...
Yes, but you're still using a work...
Exactly. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Like what? You're asking
it's
for
not
it at
good.
that point.
It's not good. As a millennial, I don't want to catch flack for getting a participation trophy, but I feel like a non-participation trophy should be fine because I didn't participate in the watching the work.
Do I get one too?
Yeah. Let's award ourselves trophies for not watching porn
it'll be
work
big enough,
or on
I
our
will
work
put
devices.
It above my fireplace.
There you go. Huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
For the world to know. And the journal too.
So you might recall that I mentioned accomplices at the top.
Yes.
Well, how else do you seamlessly orchestrate the cold-blooded murder of your spouse whilst maintaining an alibi? Many have tried and failed, but I'm sure this crack team has it in the bag. Spoiler alert, they super did not have this. They really did not nail it. They did not stick the landing. Susan Ellen Campbell was arrested within days of Debbie Benton's murder, though this individual had no criminal history. But there was also the troubling fact that authorities could find no evidence of a robbery. So I think that they were speculating that the salon had been broken into and that it was like motive was robbery. And I'm like, that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, you know?
Kind of makes you wonder who was the person who threw that out.
Yeah, right? It does. It's
Lynn?
so funny. That's exactly what I was.
It looks like a robbery.
Looks like a robbery. All the bags of cash that are usually back here missing. He just goes like real old-timey. Campbell, Lynn Benton's friend, became a person of interest after a neighbor called police with concerns. The authorities then coordinated with a neighbor to record a call where Campbell and the neighbor discussed plans to cover up the crime, and Lynn also admitted to wanting their wife dead. So just recorded them basically plotting out the whole murder.
So what, is it like one of the nosy neighbors that's like, hey girl, hey, just like checking with you, want to know what's going on?
What's up?
What's up? Oh, you murdered somebody? I can help you with that. Yeah. I know somebody who knows somebody.
Right? Campbell's son also claimed to have overheard Benton offer $2,000 to commit the crime, which is not a lot of money for this type of... You go into like federal... well, maybe not federal. Okay, but you know what I mean? Like, you're going away for a long time.
But that's only if you're caught, right? They didn't expect to be caught. So $2,000 is a lot of money when...
Yeah, when you think you're for sure getting away with it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The payment was never processed, largely because it was reportedly supposed to come from a safe deposit box that Debbie blocked Lynn from accessing. So before she was murdered, she was able to stop Lynn from accessing their safety deposit box, which had money or something of value that they were going to use to pay for the hit on her. which is just lovely. Usually people say more money, more problems. But I guess since this whole plot fell apart pretty quickly, it probably doesn't really matter how many commas were involved. At a bail hearing that December, it came to light that Campbell had confessed, though not outright, only stating that they had participated in the crime. They were like, I was a participant in the crime.
I was just the driver, okay? I was just making sure the car was warm.
Yeah. The story was that Campbell had been paid a sum of $2,000 by Lynn Benton to kill Debbie.
Allegedly.
Yeah, not so much. Not so allegedly at this point.
Wait, but I thought you said the money was in the safety deposit box.
I know. So I think the plan was to pay them $2,000.
They got the IOU, right?
Yeah,
Which is worth more.
Exactly.
Than money.
Yeah, I assume they're tacking on interest. I don't know.
Right.
So they were going to be paid a sum of $2,000 by Lynn Benton to kill Debbie in the Gladstone beauty salon that May. Debbie had been shot in the back of the head with a .25 caliber semi-automatic handgun, though that wasn't enough to wring the life from that poor woman. She'd been beaten with numerous broken ribs, a lacerated liver, which reminds me actually of a case that we covered out of Seward, Alaska. Go back and listen to it. I'll try to remember to tag it in the show notes. It's about a very sweet girl named Shelly. And I don't know why, but I keep wanting to say a lacerated river. And it was actually a typo in my notes before I had them proofread. And I'm so proud of myself for saying lacerated liver. I don't know why my brain and my mouth wants to lacerate a river.
So so you're saying that there was more than one person, obviously, that was in the beauty salon.
We're gonna get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Jump for the gun. I'm like on the edge of my seat. I want to hear this.
I know. Okay, I have to say that sentence again because I didn't realize I cut myself off too. I do that all the time. I interrupt myself.
Hey, at least you're your own worst enemy.
Yeah, basically. That's accurate. The accuracy of that, though. She'd been beaten with numerous broken ribs, a lacerated liver, as well as one of the telltale signs of strangulation, a fractured thorax. The Clackamas County ME was quoted as saying of the crime, it was kill, and overkill. I hope to never utter the phrase lacerated liver or the like again. But then if that was a serious life goal, I probably should have chosen something other than true crime to podcast about. You know, when you start saying things out loud or I don't know how many book reports you're writing of late. But, as I'm writing my notes, sometimes I'm like, man, this is a little bit of a bummer. And I'm like, yeah, this is actually 100% your fault. You could have started a podcast about anything, technically.
That is true.
That
is true.
And here we are. When questioned about the murder, Lynn was asked for all cell phones in their possession. They claimed to only have a work phone, handing it over willingly, almost suspiciously so. Like they gave it up too easily.
Lynn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, don't you think, though, being that they're part of the police academy, they didn't want, even though it is suspicious, don't get me wrong, suspicious, but they didn't want to cast suspicion. So they're like, here you go.
Well,
Wait. Okay, I just had to delete a few things. Here you go.
I think we'll get to the end of the paragraph, and I think you'll realize, yeah.
Okay.
So they claim to have only a work phone, and they're like, here, yeah. And they're, I don't know, that was almost too easy. And just then, the detective heard a noise coming from their jacket pocket. At which point, Lynn buried their head in their hands, cursing. Okay, so word of advice. If you're going to try to conceal a secondary phone, like a burner or, just a separate personal phone, you might want to make sure that it's at least
on
silenced in the presence of police. Or don't, because we all live for terrible people getting caught in the wake of their own
stupid
crimes.
Criminals.
Yeah. Stay stupid.
Yeah.
The records pertaining to calls and text messages on the day of the murder had been erased. But nothing is ever really, truly erased for good, right?
And as a police officer, they should know this. Hello.
Yeah.
Hello. They should know this.
Yeah. Such remarkable little devices these are.
Imagine that.
Hello, Tippy's Canoes.
I know, right? Oh my God. Dad jokes.
Dad jokes for days. Former Gladstone Police Sergeant Lynn Benton was arraigned via video from the Clackamas County Jail on murder charges before Judge Jeffrey S. Jones. It's a lot of J's. At the Clackamas County Courthouse in Oregon City on November 8th, 2012. Ultimately, Lynn was sentenced to life in prison without parole. And that's the end, right?
Dun, dun, dun. I have a feeling it's not.
She knows that she only got fed a portion of the story.
I only got a portion, yeah.
I didn't send you everything.
Waiting.
Yeah. I'd love to tell you that that's where our story ends. And in fact, when I first started researching the case, I believed that to be a wrap. As I read through the legalese in the detailed timeline of the court records, suddenly, as 2023 and 2024 progressed, it seemed like the initial indictment might be amended, which was scary and confusing. There's a lot of language around protecting both medical and financial records. And though it's not made plain, I'm sure this pertains to Lynn, but I suppose the records very well could pertain to others involved in the case, maybe Debbie or perhaps even those that testified. When I made my way down to the end of April 2024, in the timeline I read, the indictment dated November 6th, 2012, remains in force. Still, as I realized there was a significant amount to scroll through, it seemed like this might not be over, at all. Finally, on the spookiest of all days, October 31st, All Hallows Eve, one of many interesting court filings appears in the timeline of the case record. Specifically, a motion to order disclosure of grand jury testimony in the alternative motion for in-camera review, which I realize may not sound that spicy, but hear me out. A motion to order disclosure of grand jury testimony in the alternative motion for in-camera review means that a party is requesting that the court either order the disclosure of grand jury testimony or permit an in-camera review of the testimony. To obtain disclosure of grand jury transcripts, a party must show that the need for disclosure outweighs the need for secrecy. So all of this is to say, this doesn't happen a lot. The request must also be structured to cover only the material that is needed. So it's not like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you can just have all of the access to the records.
Who are they giving the records to? Lynn?
That's a very good question. There were also several motions to exclude evidence. Within just the last few days, it looks like there has been some real movement in the case. Because, of course, usually after you're convicted of murder, there is a years-long appeal process. Unless you just decide to go to prison and stay there. Responses were received regarding the motions to exclude, as well as an entry indicating that memorandum at law was granted. When a memorandum of law is granted in a legal context, it means that the court has reviewed the legal arguments presented in the memorandum and has decided to rule in favor of the party who submitted it, essentially siding with their interpretation of the law and applying it to the case facts as presented. So I can see on your face, what does this mean?
Yes, that's why I'm like, what? Wait.
I need you to explain. Well, not much yet, necessarily. but the line items included for both forthcoming entries indicate that this is hardly the last time this case will be discussed in a courtroom. The simple explanation is that the court has overturned Lynn's conviction for Debbie's murder, along with other related charges, and sent them back to Clackamas County for a new trial.
Overturn them? Why?
It's not entirely clear from reading some of what's available is very limited in the court documents. I've read a couple of articles. People are not following this as closely because this case is pretty dated.
Yeah, it's kind of old.
But I'll run you through what we have so far for future.
Okay.
Coming up right after Thanksgiving on December 2nd, this next week, the first round motions in the second trial appear to be commencing. Then just 2 days before Christmas, day 2 of the first round motions is scheduled to continue if needed. There are also already second round motions dates scheduled coming up in March of 2025. The day before my birthday, they've even already scheduled juror orientation. And then just a few short days later, they apparently anticipate the start of a 12-person jury trial to begin in early August 2025.
I hope I don't get a jury summons.
I know.
Actually, I do. Guilty! Guilty! As soon as I show up, they'll be like, do you know who these people are? Yes, guilty!
You are dismissed. Is that not mind-blowing?
Why? That is. Why? The fact that it's actually being done and carried out right now is what's mind-blowing, especially with all the evidence that was stacked up against this person.
Well, and I will say this. I do think what little that I've been able to glean from not just the court documents, but the little bit of reporting that has come out about it, where there's some interpretation provided by other journalists. And it seems like this may not really be a situation where it's like, oh, you guys didn't have enough evidence. But I do think it's more of a procedural issue. So certain types of evidence, if it's permitted and it shouldn't have been, then that gets struck. That can be grounds for a retrial. So I think some of this may have more to do with like the technical and administrative side which is so scary.
Well, I think no, it absolutely is scary. And I think the problem lies with the fact that it just goes to show that our court system is screwed. It's like screwed up because the discrepancy between everything that had happened leading up to that point and now they're like, oh, well, we'll just give you a retrial. And it's just like, what? You have a recorded conversation with them admitting that they planned it. But, oh, no, it's probably being thrown out.
I was just going to say, I don't know what pieces of evidence are being excluded from the previous trial at this point. So I've never really stumbled into a case that's suddenly developing again quite like this before. Usually I go into it knowing because that's how it comes to my attention. The fact that it's being reopened is how it's sort of like back in the ether, if you will.
Who approved that? Doesn't it have to be approved by a judge or something?
Yeah. I mean, judges were involved. I know. She's just like, I want answers.
No, I do because
I want names.
Because if this was you or me, not saying that we'd murder anybody, but if this was you or me, they would be like, oh, they went to hell. That's it. They're gonna die.
They went to hell.
Yeah, like ours, it would be like sealed, signed, delivered. That's it. It would there would be no retrial. And even if we did ask for one, they'd be like, You know what I mean? So that's why it blows my mind. I don't know. To me, it seems like I'm so passionate about this. I feel like a lot of times the people who are supposed to be held accountable, a lot of times don't get held accountable for the stuff that gets done. And yes, they went to prison, but now it's being reopened. That means that they could literally just be like, oh, you never committed this murder.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. Obviously, we're not going to know the outcome from this for quite a while. And some of the details of, you know, what's changed are not exactly like it's a lot of legalese, and I'm not an attorney or a prosecutor.
Me neither.
I do think that they've made it clear that there was some procedural issues. There, you know, were definitely items included in the court proceedings that shouldn't have been. You know, part of me wants to really dig into that. I've shared a little bit kind of, I mean, the bombshell is that this is being reopened.
Right.
I do, you know, if we are able to learn a little bit more as it develops, I feel like that's when I would kind of want to share a little bit more about, you know, about the case and how now it's proceeding.
Yeah. I mean,
some of that is, there's a lot of things that we're just not going to know until the court proceedings take place oftentimes.
Yeah.
Because I the way that a lot of the court records work when you're looking at like the case numbers in Smart Search is you're just seeing kind of line items and dates. It's, you know, it's not giving you very detailed information. You know, there aren't typically you know, transcripts attached per se. So there's no interpretation, right? This is literally just on this date, we will be providing jurors orientation, and that's it. I mean, we've talked about this before on the show, that we're not network-backed journalists. We're just people working to create, you know, hopefully the highest quality, you know, podcast and in general content that we can in between everything else in our lives. So I don't know. I was just really happy to be able to present something that feels like kind of more like breaking news. I didn't anticipate that going in. I had no idea about the retrial.
I had no idea.
I almost didn't include it because it's kind of buried in a lot of the source material. It just is like everything's about the initial case.
Absolutely. Because even when I sent you information about it, they had little snippets, but I was like,
nothing to do with the retrial though.
No.
And
I bet you a lot of people don't know that. I bet you a lot of people don't know that. They probably kept it on the hush. The deal.
Yeah. I mean, I think after a certain point, it's just, you know, there's more current stories. And so that's going to be what gets the airtime. But there's actually more stuff that I didn't put into my regular notes, but I'm going to save that for a little Patreon mini-sode.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. A couple more pages, I think, for them. But, you know, just a little mini-sode action. But for now, you want to get into some tarot?
Oh, I was going to say get into some tea. And I was like, I guess
tarot and tea.
I was like, tea? What kind of tea we talking about?
Okay. Let's see what we got here. I'm
not here. We got a bird.
She's pretty musical today, I have to say.
I'm actually all the time. You don't know.
You are actually, on the whole, you're fairly musical.
Yes, yeah. I should have been a Disney character.
Keywords are creativity and skill, self-expression, growth, competence, and manifestation.
Is that what that stands for?
Yeah. Okay. Now is the time to show the world what you can do. You've worked hard to develop your talents and have confidence in your abilities. You feel passionately about what you do and believe you can inspire others. Express yourself. I'm not sure that I'm finding the connection yet with the case.
Lynn expressed themselves.
Yeah, sure did. Some of the expression, I feel
there was an expression, a long-lasting impression of that expression.
Yeah. You know, the one thing I will say is it is kind of a trio that's associated with the conspiracy. So 3 of Wands, in that respect, at least, kind of makes sense to me. But okay, I'm going to read the rest of the interpretation. You've developed a project, business, creative endeavor, or other venture, and now you're ready to share it with others. Like maybe you're co-conspirators?
I'm all about the conspiracies.
I I mean, this one I'm not a fan of, I have to say. By devoting yourself fully to your goal, you can succeed. Do what's necessary to bring your dreams to fruition. Ooh. In a reading about money, the upright 3 shows increase and financial support coming to you. You may have to spend money to make money, but this card promises success. Oh man, I feel like just the specific wording on that, because remember, they didn't actually spend the money because they got blocked out of the safety deposit box.
That's true.
That like, you got to spend money to make money. Like, I'm sure that there was probably an element of like, oh, I'm going to collect on the life insurance. Oh, that makes me so nervous. Okay. In a reading about work, this card suggests an exciting time when your efforts start to bear fruit. You're giving it your all, inspiring others, and attracting people who are eager to help you. Your ideas begin to take form. Collaboration can be beneficial. And okay, let's see if okay, we've got some more here. Okay.
Is it normal for this to be blinking?
Blinking?
Flashing? It's flashing.
What's happening?
On and off. Do you see that? Like, I don't want to be weird, but it's. Did you see it for 1 second?
I feel like something's just wrong with the camera.
Okay. Because it keeps. At least you're a witness that it's not just me. It's the
No, it was doing it
spirits.
How long has it been doing that?
Since she just started reading her tarot card.
Since I fucking opened my haunted computer.
Bro.
Close that shit. We don't need the haunting in here.
I didn't think it would have an effect on it again.
I know that felt like such a fluke last time. I was like, I mean, there's got to be some other explanation.
Do you guys have one of those readers to see if ghosts are around?
We do somewhere. God, we got to organize the pod closet so we can actually find shit. That is so bizarre.
I'm like, it didn't start happening until she started reading the thing. So.
Oh my God.
Nice one.
All right.
There's a disturbance in the force.
Yeah. Okay. If you asked about a relationship, the 3 indicates a commitment, an engagement, or marriage.
The irony.
Yeah. You and a partner express passionate feelings for each other and celebrate your love. Or maybe you super don't. Could be like hard left in completely the other direction.
You know, sometimes though, like, maybe this doesn't sound right, but a lot of times, especially when DV is a thing, when you split, there is that I don't want you to be with anybody else. If
right.
You're not
if I can't have
me.
You, then no one can.
Yeah. So this kind of actually does work if you make.
That does. Yeah. That's
in a twisted
interesting.
way.
It kind of makes sense. Yeah. Oh, I don't like that. Okay. Well, there's an extra excerpt. And I don't think we're going to like this either. So, yay.
Don't assume. I like everything. Okay.
I'll be surprised if you like this, but I guess we'll see. Hidden alliances work to move you into your authentic vocation as soon as you begin to commit to it. Like a hidden alliance of maybe 3 people who
hidden gem there
who decided to
little egg, Easter egg.
For murder. And then maybe your authentic vocation is perhaps not law enforcement, but being detained by the law.
I was like jail time. Like, yeah. you might just say it, prison time. Maybe it's not that, but
that is so weird though. Like the way that is specifically worded in the extra excerpt, it's like,
it's fitting.
Yeah. I don't like it, but it is fitting.
I like it. I think it's.
No, I mean, I hate that that's the situation.
No.
Yeah. So. All right. Well, I think we should wrap it up.
I was trying to say it faster than my mouth words didn't work. Wrap it before you tap it.
Okay. Well, the peanut gallery has spoken. Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday. I mean, probably not Andrea because she's a guest.
Oh, that's true. I was like, you won't say me. That's true.
She
I
got
forgot.
so upset. She's already used to hosting.
Yeah. This is already my permanent. I just moved in. I moved in today because I decided that this was
She's got
going to
the
be my
collapsible
permanent
cot under the desk. You get it.
I was sleeping between you and Chris. What are you talking about?
She's not